Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West. Let's keep week 97 going with another Word Nerd Wednesday. Last series, we looked at a whole lot of words from Of Tuor and His Coming to Gondolin and Unfinished Tales, as well as the chapter Of Maeglin from the Silmarillion. This time around, we're still in the story of Tuor on Fridays for a few more weeks, and we'll be sure to look up any new words that arrive there. For the rest, though, we're going to keep looking at the readings from Silmarillion Saturdays as we go through Of the Ruin of Beleriand and the Fall of Fingolfin. Now, we get mention of the Fen of Serech, where King Finrod was cut off from his people, then saved by Barahir. Have you noticed that when a heroic man saves an elf king by this place, really big historical things come from it? Barahir saves Finrod this time, but Hurin and Huor saved Turgon at this same place, less than 20 years after this moment. Anyway, all that to say, Fen of Serech. Guess what? Sindarin with no clear meaning. No clue. None. It's not glossed. The element or elements are not obvious. It might be related to a root Serech for blood. That's an element in the name of the plant called Saragon. That's the plant with the red flowers atop Amon Ruth, but that is literally just my guess. I've got no clue. Now, next up is a place that, thanks to the height and strength of the shadowy mountains, remained unconquered, Hithlum. Now, I really thought I'd already done a Word Nerd Wednesday on this, but Control-F suggests otherwise. The name is given for us as Land of Mist. It's based on the Sindarin word for mist, Hith. It's an element we see in Hithaglir, misty mountains, Nenhithoil, mist-cool water, and even the rote that the elves of Lothlorien gave to Sam, Hithline, mist thread. Hith is cognate with Quenya Hisse, which is why you'll sometimes hear Sindarin Hithlum addressed by its Quenya name, Hisilome. And I think the reason why I thought I'd done a word nerdery on Hithlum is because we've talked about a couple of those other things. I know Nenhithoil I did for sure back when we were walking through that chapter. Now, Serech and Hithlum came to us from our readings at the end of Series 12, but now we move to look at some words we encountered in last week's reading about the aftermath of the Dagor Bragalach. And for the Bragalach itself, just go back to week 90's Word Nerd Wednesday. Several places came up in one short section. The orcs overwhelmed the riders of the people of Feanor upon Lothland, for Glaurung came thither and passed through Maglor's Gap, and destroyed all the land between the arms of Gelion. And the orcs took the fortress upon the west slopes of Mount Rerir, and ravaged all Thargelion, the land of Caranthir, and they defiled also Lake Helivorn. Thence they passed over Gelion with fire and terror, and came far into East Beleriand. Maglor joined Maedhros upon Himring, but Caranthir fled and joined the remnant of his people to the scattered folk of the hunters, Amrod and Amras, and they retreated and passed Ramdal in the south. Upon Amon Ereb they maintained a watch and some strength of war, and they had aid of the green elves, and the orcs came not into Osiriand, nor to Taur Imduinath and the wilds of the south. You heard a lot of places. We're just going to look at some of those place names today, save the Sons of Feanor for another time, maybe when I'm in a better mood. Lothland is a wide open plain. Now, how do I know that? Because its name is glossed for us in the appendix as the wide and empty. The elements are lost for empty. Think Camlost, Baron's self-imposed nickname, the empty-handed. And the second element is land for wide. Think Landroval, which means broad-winged. Now, that element lost follows a couple of interesting pronunciation rules in becoming Loth. The first is that an ST sound becomes just S when it's before a consonant. Okay, so Loslan. Nope, because now it follows the rule that an S in the middle of a word, that is, not starting with an S or ending with an S, that when that happens in the middle, it becomes th when it comes before an L sound. So Lothlan. There you go. Next up is the river Gelion. Like Serech, it's another one whose meaning is unclear, though we do have some things on it. Back in the etymologies of the 1930s, Tolkien said the word was based on an Ilkurin word. Now, Ilkurin was a very, very early predecessor to Sindarin, and there the word Gelion meant bright, but that disappeared. Later, Tolkien worked through several possible name changes, one of which was actually based on a Kuzdul word, Gabilan, for great river, and that one's found in The War of the Jewels. But that didn't make it through his Silmarillion revisions in the 50s and 60s. So, whatever it means, Thargelion, the land of Caranthir, simply means the land beyond Gelion, with Thar being the Sindarin element for across or over. We get a mention of Mount Rerir, but again, like Serech and Gelion, zero suggestions as to what the name means. The mountain is near Lake Helivorn, a Sindarin word we do finally get a meaning for, black glass. The elements here are Helev, for glass, and we don't see that element anywhere else, but it is glossed specifically as this for us in Parma El de Lambaron 17. We also, of course, have the more easily recognized Morn for black or dark, usually seen in its shortened form, Mor McGill, Mordor, etc. We also sometimes see it in its lenited form, like we do here as Vorn, Hela Vorn. We also see that in Galvorn and a few others. Amrad and Amras are said to have retreated and passed Ramdal in the south. Well, Ramdal is glossed for us in the appendix as Wall's End. The element Ram should sound familiar. The Ramos Ekor is the great wall of the outer circle surrounding the Pelennor, Gondor. And the Tal element, lenited to Dal here, for foot, is something we've seen recently as well. Idril's moniker Celebrindal, Silverfoot, or the name that young Turin gave to his injured house servant Sador, Labadal, Hoppafoot. Now, after retreating, they set up a watch on Amon Ereb, and I think you might be able to piece this one together for yourselves. Amon for hill, Amon Ruth, Bald Hill, Amon Deen, Silent Hill, and then Ereb, like Erebor, the lonely mountain. So, the lonely hill. Note that the Ereb element is simply the word er for single or alone, like eru or erkamion, the one-handed, with the adjectival suffix eb added to the end. One more for today. The end of that passage, we read that the orcs didn't come into Osiriand nor to Taur Imduinath. Now, we've seen Taur often. It means forest or wood, like in Taur Nufuin or Taur Naneldor. The middle element here, im, I-M, means between. And then Duin is quite familiar. River, large river, with the ath suffix making Duin a class plural. We've talked about the class plural rim before. This is another one that we see. We don't see it as often, but think about Perianath, right? That ATH suffix makes things a class plural. So in this case, the forest between the rivers. Well, folks, that is it for today's Word Nerd Wednesday. Come back next week as we wander the wide, wild, wonderful world of words weekly on Wednesdays. And if there's a word you want to know more about, just email barlaman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Please visit patreon.com/TolkienTimes to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, bonus weekly episode, and more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Third Age Thursday as we continue looking at men of the Third Age. Subscribe to the TTT in your podcast apps or to the PPP channel here on YouTube, where the full back catalog has now been uploaded for you to enjoy. And be sure you're following @PrancingPonyPod on social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.